To the Fermanagh District Council Regeneration Committee Committee meeting this evening, Tuesday the 14th of October 2025, and this evening we're in the Town Hall in Enniskillen and also via WebEx. Can I first of all welcome Director Sinead McAvoy, the Director of Regeneration and Planning, Director John Boyle, Director of Community and Wellbeing, Joanne Walsh, Business Manager, Heather Manna, Democratic Services Team Leader, and in IT we have Daniel Hoy. So you're all very welcome, and I welcome all the councillors in the chamber and joining via WebEx. Okay, first of all, we're going now to apologies. We'll go to the Sinn Féin Group Leader and ask Councillor Tommy Maguire.
They're not quite the group leader anymore, but thanks for that, Eric. Two apologies, Councillor McArdle and Councillor Withers. And Councillor Glenn Campbell's on his route. He'd be about 10 minutes late.
No problem, thank you. We go to the Ulster Unionist Party, anything? You're all here, well done. The Democratic Unionist Party, we have Councillor Mark Buchanan joining via WebEx. The Social Democratic Labour Party, SDLP, Councillor Adam Gannon has an apology. And he is the sole representative from that party. Okay. Item 2 on the agenda is to sign the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 9th of September 2025, and I've already those signed. Item 3, declarations of interest, and I'll first of all declare an interest in item 4.1 as a member of Omagh Independent Advice Services Management Board. Any other declarations of interest? Okay, nobody's. You want to come on there, Councillor McAuliffe? You okay? You're on mute.
I've got it muted now. It took me a wee while there. But just the same as yourself, Chair, I'm a member of the Management Board of Omagh Independent Advice Services, nominated by the Council. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Councillor McAuliffe. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to reports for decision. And as item 4, Community and Wellbeing Director reports. And it's over to Director John Boyle, item 4.1. And I'll remain in the chair, but I'll take no part in any voting that may take place. John.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the first report here is a response to DFC consultation on a support framework for independent advice and debt services. And just to note, Chair, that there are council powers allocated to this report as the consultation closes on the 3rd of November 2025. DFC have put forward draft proposals of how the department will work with local government and with independent advice providers to ensure people can gain access to consistent quality advice, no matter where they live, with a focus on ensuring that there is consistency throughout the whole region in how independent advice services provide their services. The framework, the draft framework, recognises the need and the demand for advice services, and indeed, I suppose, in our own anti-poverty strategy, that the need for independent advice services has been shown, and indeed the increased need. What we have found in the last number of years is the increased take-up, I suppose, coming out of COVID, and indeed due to the cost of living crisis, the increased take-up of services by the independent advice service sector. This year, the Council has committed 185,000 for independent generous advice, and a further 79,000 is provided to that independent advice sector by DFC. So we fund approximately 70% of the funding for generous advice to the independent sector. The draft proposals from the DFC, it intends to collaborate with local government and with the advice providers to ensure that all people, no matter where they're from, get that same advice, get quality advice, and get it when they need it most. There are a number of themes in the framework. The first one is joining up to improve outcomes, and certainly the council in our draft response, which is included in Appendix 1, welcomes that detailed joining up of outcomes, and we welcome that the details of increased collaboration between the department, advice providers, and the local government. However, the framework talks about bringing together the funding to support generous advice and the local debt services advice. But there is no commitments in that framework for addressing the existing deficit in funding for advice providers. There is no doubt that advice providers within our district are under pressure and continually make representation to us for enhanced funding. Nowhere in the framework is there any indication of increased funding for the advice sector. I suppose when I mentioned that funding is provided on 70% by council and 30% from DFC, the draft consultation response, which we make to the proposals, calls for the requirement for a future funding model to redress that deficit. That it isn't the council that is actually funding this generous advice service more, and that the funding model should reflect the specific needs of the area. And I know today we had a presentation on multiple deprivation and things like that, and how funding is allocated to our council area. I suppose what we are calling for is that the funding shouldn't be reflective of population size and solely the multiple deprivation measure, but it has to adequately reflect our rurality and the challenges that are imposed by that rurality in relation to our citizens. The second theme is about enhancing visibility and accessibility of services, and of course we welcome that. The DFC proposals talk about a regional gateway, which is planned to provide similar streamlined service to reduce duplication. However, our response, we highlighted that it must be supported by effective referral protocols to ensure that whole interaction at a regional level and at a local level needs to be seamless in order to provide those quality services for our citizens. Theme C of the framework talks about quality and innovation in services, and I suppose we welcome that. Theme D talks about measuring performance and the impact of services, which is again is a welcome initiative. And the final theme talks about supporting and strengthening the sector. But I suppose in relation to that, our draft response highlights that in order to support and strengthen the sector, it will require significant investment. The draft framework reports that the stakeholder engagement is very, or the funding at the minute is very short term in funding arrangements, and that is certainly a problem. So it is the independent advice services only get funding on an annual basis. And that causes difficulties both in attracting staff and retention of staff, and also making sure that we get the proper staff in order to give the proper advice to our citizens. So that lack of financial certainty on an annual basis does not support and strengthen the sector. And we have highlighted that in our response to the framework, that there is need for a more multi-annual funding model for the independent advice service. So therefore, Chair, it's recommended that the Council approves the draft response, which is included as Appendix 1 of the report to the Department for Communities consultation on the framework for independent advice and debt services. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, John. Have we any comments or queries for John? Okay, in the chamber we have Councillor Rosemary Barton.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. Thank you for that comprehensive answer or guidance there. Just you spoke there about funding on an annual basis not being helpful, and totally agree with you. But it's not helpful to clients either. And the reason it's not helpful to clients is, for example, you know, they send in their forms for various benefits. Sometimes it takes 3, 4, 5 months before they're getting feedback, or before perhaps they're called for an appeal or called for a review. And by that time, that year's gone and another year is available, and that's not helpful either. And it doesn't build clients' confidence in the service. I'm not suggesting there's anything wrong with the service, but if a client doesn't know they'll be there in 3 months to support them, there's a difficulty there. You understand what I'm trying to say? Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, Chair. Yeah, Councillor Barton, you're absolutely right. I think the whole thing, and it's supposed to cost many of the services that we provide in council here even, is that multi-annual funding is more supportive for our communities out there, and like you say, for building confidence in their ability for us to deliver on behalf of them is absolutely vital. So I think something like independent advice services, we've been funding it for many years. And I think this is one area where there is a need. I think there is a long-term need, and I think at regional level, I think government need to be, thinking about a multi-annual funding package in order to provide the best service for our clients of advice.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Barton, for your question there, and thank you, John. Okay, I'm now looking for a proposer and seconder for the recommendation for the draft response. Proposed by Councillor Rosemary Barton, seconded by Councillor Tommy Maguire. And we're all agreed. Thank you. Okay, and now we're on to item 4.2, and that's to consider the report on appointment of public analysts. And you've got it in your pack as paper B. And it's over to Director John Boyle.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, it's to seek council approval for the appointment of public analysts to support the work that we do in relation to food quality inspections and food standards undertaken within environmental health. Under the food order, every council has to appoint a public analyst and to carry out examinations and analysis of food samples that are taken from businesses. Antrim and Newton Abbey Borough Council agreed on behalf of all of the 11 councils to undertake a tender exercise, and that was awarded to Eurofins Food Testing Ireland Limited. Just as a process, each council has formally to appoint the contracted public analysts in order before they can undertake their work. So, Chair, it's recommended that the council approves the appointment of the public analysts to the council under the Food Safety Order 1991.
Thank you very much again, John. If there are no questions or queries for John, it's proposed by Councillor Alan Rooney, MBE. Have a seconder? Councillor Marty McColgan. All agreed? Thank you. On to item 4.3, and that's to consider the report on a collaborative doctoral partnership between University of Ulster and Fermanagh and Omagh District Council. And it's paper C in your packs. And it's over to Director Boyle.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, yeah, we've been numerous discussions with the University of Ulster, and they have put forward a proposal for a collaborative doctoral partnership between themselves and ourselves to undertake research into the barriers of physical activity among low-income families. It would be for a 3-year period where a PhD researcher would be based in our district, and I suppose it all comes out of the importance of our anti-poverty strategy, which has led to many openings, I have to say, in other things. And this is one of them where, the University of Ulster have picked up on the good work that we have already done in relation to our anti-poverty strategy. And I've said, this is something that we can add value into. We do know that 21% of primary and 16% of post-primary school pupils in Northern Ireland meet activity guidelines. That's very, very low. 21%, like at best 1/5 of young people meet those activity levels. 30% of parents or guardians report being unable to afford the ability to participate in sport and activity. And 24% of parents or guardians have borrowed money or use credit cards to cover the costs of taking part in physical activity. And those certainly, cost alone is a barrier for taking part in physical activity. And we all know that the impact of physical activity on a person's both physical health, but also on their mental health, and the vital importance of it in a young person, especially because what you do in a young age, you carry on throughout your life. So I suppose this piece of research is an exciting piece of research. Especially given the current time of cost of living crisis, and as we are, and many of our citizens are experiencing that cost of living. The research program itself would identify those barriers for young people that take part in physical activity in disadvantaged communities. They would engage with policymakers and service providers to look at what are the solutions to that. They would work collaboratively to develop and test those solutions within our council area here with local children, with local stakeholders. And like I say, that person would be embedded in the council and would be a fantastic resource in the council. Now, there is a financial contribution that is requested of approximately £12,500 per year over the 3 years in order to support this work. But the University of Ulster would also, they're putting forward an application to their own research teams to put into the programme approximately 40 to 50,000 per year. So the research outputs would certainly be useful for the future direction of our own direction for sport and recreation and participation in sport and recreation for young people in our council area. And we will be very central to the work of the PhD researcher. So I suppose it is. I do think it is a fantastic opportunity, but I do know there is a council contribution that is required. I suppose at this stage, because the programme wouldn't start until the 26-27 year, what has been asked for council is subject to availability within the estimates in each of the financial year that the council approves the financial support for a collaborative doctoral partnership between the University of Ulster and Fermanagh and Omagh District Council, and that it would be included in the 26-27 estimates process, the 12,500. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, John. Any questions or queries for John? If not, I can see him. Mr. Tommy Maguire.
Hi, Gurmaghan Kearney. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, happy enough to propose the recommendation, and just the point being, and similar to the meeting this afternoon, the facts and figures are the best way that we can actually make very precise, cost-effective methods of promoting sport going forward, and to have that detail from this level of analysis would be very beneficial. Chair, Gurmaghan.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Maguire. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Alan Rainey MBE is the seconder. We all agreed? Okay, thanking you. Thanks, John. Okay, we're on now to item 5, and that's the Regeneration and Planning Directorate reports. And it's Director Sinead McAvoy. Item 5.1, to consider the report on the draft response to Tourism NI Draft Corporate Plan 2025 to 2028 consultation, paper D in your packs, and council powers have been conferred to the committee to deal with this item. Sinead.
Thank you, Chair. So members, the purpose of the report is really to provide an overview of the consultation by Tourism NI on their draft corporate plan 25 to 2028, which is attached to Appendix 1 to the paper, and then also to seek approvals for the submission of the draft response, which is then attached to Appendix 2. The closing date for the consultation, there's a typo just in the report there. It says the 12th of October. It should actually say the 22nd. And as the Chair has noted, members, the council powers have been delegated to the item. So in terms of the key issues then, the draft plan has essentially been developed following the recent publication of the DFE Tourism Vision and Action Plan, which is a 10-year action plan. And that strategy, which recognises the important contribution of the tourism sector to the Northern Ireland economy, and sets a goal of increasing tourism expenditure from overnight visitors. Tourism NI's draft corporate plan sets out how it plans to make that goal a reality, and they have said that this will be through playing a key role in supporting the tourism industry in a highly competitive global market. And they've set out some of the actions to support tourism businesses to become more innovative, more sustainable, increase productivity, and also then in the development of award-winning marketing and promotional campaigns. Tourism NI have also said that they plan to continue to work closely with local councils to support the delivery of tourism-led regeneration projects within the city and growth deals. And obviously that's of particular consequence to ourselves in Fermanagh and Omagh in the context of our growth deal projects. And they've said that the projects are central to the ambition to increase visitor numbers to Northern Ireland, encouraging travellers essentially to stay longer, travel further, and then ultimately make a greater contribution to local communities. So members, I'll just very briefly then take you to the draft response, which is appended at Appendix 2 to the report. And members will note that there's a series of questions set out within the consultation, and we have set out draft responses to those. Some of the key points to focus in on, I suppose, is that ultimately we're saying the council, in terms of their goal, in terms of supporting the industry to grow, the value of spend in terms of overnight trips, we're saying that we agree that's a realistic goal, but we're saying that the opportunities, investment and benefits must be equally spread across all regions, including Fermanagh, Lakelands and Omagh and the Sperrins. And we're saying that assurances regarding regional balance, which are highlighted in the report, really need then to be spelled out clearly in the final corporate plan. We've also gone on to highlight, I suppose, concerns that we flagged in different discussions, in different forums around regional balance. And we're saying, yes, there needs to be absolutely regional balance. But we've gone on just to say that it's important that economic activity investment is more equally spread across Northern Ireland and not just concentrated in Belfast or the North Coast, and as is referred to other honeypot areas. So we've set out there our rationale for that. Further on into the draft response then, we've noted a key challenge really facing regional tourism promotion is really that lack of dedicated and sustained marketing and funding at the local level. So we're saying really without a dedicated regional tourism marketing budget, really that opportunity to capitalise on the emerging trends and extend the visitor season is severely limiting. We've also in the report set out some commentary around, I suppose, destination product development. And we're saying that the council believes that a fair distribution of tourism capital and event funding on a sub-regional basis is required. And we've gone on to explain that we believe that cognizance really should be given to the regional product strengths within our own districts, such as course angling on the Erin River system, and then game angling on the Foyle River system. And we've also gone on then to refer obviously to the Classic Fishing Festival, which is an important event in the district. And then further on into the report, so we've wanted to just, I suppose, again, flag that concern that continues around the removal of Tourism NI's national event funding programme. And really urging Tourism NI to ensure that there is an event support programme going forward within the context of the plan. Members will also note then that some of the objectives and comments within the plan, then we've noted that some of those do align closely to our visitor experience development plan. So in terms of the report then, members, the recommendation of the report then is that Council endorses the draft response to the consultation on Tourism NI's corporate plan attached at Appendix 2.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sinead, for taking us through that, and thanks for the draft response. Any queries or questions for Sinead, members? If not, can we proposer and seconder for the adoption? Mr. Tommy McGuire.
Margaret Carley, happy enough to propose, but just to point out a typo at page 3 in Appendix 2. On the bullet point, it says stimulating demand, but the actual paragraph heading is simulating demand, and we wouldn't like to be accused of simulation, I wouldn't think so. No, just that. With that correction, Chair, happy to propose.
Well picked up there, Councillor McGuire. Have we got a seconder for the adoption? Councillor Alan Rainey, MBE, seconder. And all agreed? Thank you. Item 5.2 now is to consider the report on various local economic development initiatives, and it's paper E in your pack. And it's over to Sinead.
Thank you, Chair. So members, the purpose of the report has a number of aspects within it. The first part of it really are, I suppose, for decision, and then the second part of the report really is more for information. So it's really to provide an update on community outreach activity through the Workhouse Student Entrepreneurial Programme, and then also local enterprise agencies. And then the second part of the report is an update on progress around our local economic development activity up to the end of September. So in terms of the first part of the report then, the Workhouse, so in September 2024, the Workhouse submitted a proposal to the Council to launch what was referred to really as a pilot initiative titled Core Student Hub, which is a dedicated platform designed to support students who are either in the process of starting their own business or really seeking to explore more information and to understand entrepreneurship in more detail. So the Core Student Hub was aimed at engaging students from the South West College, and the hub really served as a platform for experimental learning with theme sessions led by guest speakers from creative and entrepreneurial sectors. And the funding for the initiative at that pilot stage was provided through the Council's community outreach budget within the Go Succeed service. So the pilot proved to be very successful insofar as there were over 20 students participating in each of the sessions, and very consistent feedback in terms of the positivity of those. So building on that, I suppose, positive pilot engagement, the Workhouse then is keen to continue the initiative and to essentially relaunch the Core Student Hub for further engagement. So that would then be for students in the new academic year, which would begin now in autumn. And they have then obviously come to the Council to seek funding support as part of that. So it's worth noting that as part of the Go Succeed service that the Council deliver, that there is an allocated budget to deliver support or outreach activities that are aimed at promoting entrepreneurship. So it's considered that this initiative that has come forward to us aligns with the support outreach services aspect of the Go Succeed programme. And a therefore recommended that an allocation of £3,000 is made to then the delivery of this next phase of the Core Student Hub, with £1,500 of that assigned from the Go Succeed service budget, and then £1,500 of that would be assigned from the Economic Development Youth Entrepreneurial budget. And just to note, South West College is committed to continuing its support for the programme in the same capacity by maintaining its role in terms of promotion and student engagement and speaker contributions. And then the second part of the report then relates to OMA Enterprise and Fermanagh Enterprise. So officers have considered proposals from both Fermanagh Local Enterprise and OMA Local Enterprise agencies to deliver outreach activity through the local enterprise agencies to reach, and in particular, females, individuals with a disability and those from minority backgrounds, to again encourage entrepreneurship and to provide details of the ecosystem in place to support individuals ready to embark on that entrepreneurial pathway. So the proposals are expected to cost in the region of £2,500 per enterprise agency. And you'll have note from the report, we're saying funding from that can be assigned from our community outreach budget within the Council's Go Succeed service. And then moving on to the third part of the report then, members, this is an update on our local economic development initiatives in the period from April 25 to September 25. And members will note then that the table set out below paragraph 2.3.1 takes members through the various different initiatives, the targets, and then the progress that has taken place over the course of that period. So in terms of the recommendations then, members, it's recommended the Council approves the funding of £3,000 from the Go Succeed service and the Youth Entrepreneurial budget to support the delivery of the Workhouse Core Student Hub, approves the allocation of £2,500 to OMA Local Enterprise Agency and the allocation of £2,500 to Fermanagh Local Enterprise Agency for the delivery of the community outreach activity as outlined at section 2.2, and notes the update on the local economic development initiatives to date for the current financial year.
Okay, thanks very much, Sinead. And as I say, the first two parts of the recommendation are for approval, and the third part is for noting. Now we go to the chamber now, and we have Councillor Glenn Campbell.
Yes, Chairman, just to declare an interest as an employee of South West College.
South West College, okay. Thanks for that, Councillor Campbell. Chamber again, Councillor Tommy McGuire.
Likewise, Chair, declaration of interest as a director for Fermanagh Enterprise.
Thank you for that. Okay. We'll go to the remainder of us. Anne-Marie Donnelly, Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly, online via WebEx.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose recommendations as set out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Donnelly. We have a seconder. Happy to second is Councillor Alan Rainey MBE, and we're all agreed. Okay. Thank you very much. On to item 5.3 is to consider a report on a meeting of the Agricultural Liaison Group held on the 25th of September 2025. And it's paper F in your packs. And it's over to Sinead again.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report is to update members on the last meeting of the Agricultural Liaison Group, which took place on the 25th of September, and then to seek council approval to progress the identified recommendations within the report. So just to note that the draft minutes then from that particular meeting then are attached at Appendix 1. So at the meeting then, members considered the key priorities and issues affecting the Fermanagh agricultural sector. Members were advised of a visit that was to take place to Fane Valley in Omagh on the 13th of October, but I'm aware that that visit has been postponed. Members also discussed issues around the problem of blue-green algae at Lough Neagh, and agreed that it would be beneficial to have Mr. Andrew Wright from Feelsgood to be invited to speak to the group at a future meeting, and also requested that correspondence be issued to the DAERA to seek clarification around the methodology that's used in their investigation of and research on the blue-green algae, and also then, in addition to that, to write to Queen's University and the University of Oxford to seek information regarding the most up-to-date research they've been involved in on that particular subject and any other waterways, and then to seek information on potential solutions identified through their research. Members also discussed the continued concerns for the agricultural sector in relation to the pending changes to the inheritance tax, and request that the correspondence be issued to the Chancellor of the Exchequer around this. Members also discussed the ongoing issues around tuberculosis in cattle and the long-run implications of those, and requested that the Chief Veterinary Officer from DAERA be invited to a future meeting of the group. And then finally, members also discussed the River Blackwater Catchment Trust Peace Plus project and the issue of drone usage in the management of wildfires at Slieve Bay. And members were concerned that there hadn't been, as far as we understand, any local community consultation as part of that particular project, and requested then that we would engage with SEUPP to really understand what projects and works were being undertaken in the area. So then, in terms of the recommendations, members, it's recommended the council approves the following recommendations from the September meeting. So that's to note the visit to Fane Valley, to invite Mr. Andrew Wright from Feelsgood to attend a future meeting of the group to speak on the issue of blue-green algae, to write to the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs to seek clarification on the methodology used in their investigation of blue-green algae, and then also to write to the Queen's University and University of Oxford to seek information regarding the most up-to-date research that they have on that same subject, and to seek information on potential solutions that have been identified through their research, to write to the Chancellor of Exchequer to express concerns for the agricultural sector as a result of the changes to inheritance tax, to invite the Chief Veterinary Officer to speak at a further meeting of the group, and then to also write to SEUPB in relation to the River Blackwater Catchment Trust project at Slieve Bay to really understand what level of consultation has been involved and the project works that are being undertaken in this area.
Again, thank you very much, Sinead, for that, taking us through it. And first of all, we'll go to BioWebEx, because his hand was up first, and that is Councillor Mark Buchanan.
Thank you, Chair, and Sinead, for the comprehensive report of the Agricultural Group. Can I propose the report, please, and all the recommendations? And just at this point, Chair, could I declare an interest in 6.1? I forgot to do it earlier, just as a member of the Grant Aid Appeals. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Buchanan. And now into the chamber, and it's Councillor Seamus Green.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm happy enough to second that. I suppose just around the blue-green algae issue, I had written to the Minister of Agriculture and some of the other ministers in other departments to query what type of how they were accessing information around this, and very disturbingly and worryingly that they're going by computer modelling rather than on the ground sampling, which is quite worrying given that it's such an issue. And the other thing that I found out is that the people that are that are processing the information from the computer modelling is NIW themselves, which is one of the alleged polluters, major polluters. It's almost like having the fox guard the hen house. I think it's outrageous, but anyway, I'm happy to second.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Green. Back in the chamber again, Councillor Rosemary Barton.
Thank you. It's just a comment. It's in relation to the recommendations. It's spoken of in 8.1. Note the visit to Fane Valley, Omagh on the 13th of October 2025. That didn't take place as such. So do you need to put in a new date
New date.
in the recommendations? It's just for accuracy. I don't know, or say it has been cancelled and the new date will be.
Yeah, so the visit was postponed and a new date's to be arranged, yeah.
Perhaps that might be.
Yeah, happy to, that if members are content that we would update, yeah.
Update is necessary. Councillor McCallan, Councillor Green, okay? Happy enough.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Barton. Okay, all agreed. Okay, we're now on to item 5.4, and it's to consider the report of the Director of Regeneration and Planning, paper G in your packs, and over again to Sinead.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report is really set out, I suppose, at paragraph 2.1, and there's a number of aspects of the report, so I'll take members through each one. So initially, is to provide an update in relation to the last meeting of our Community Planning Strategic Partnership Board. That took place on the 18th of September. And at the meeting, we had a presentation from the Department of Education in relation to the Struil Shared Education Campus. We also received an update on the activities of the Community and Voluntary Sector Forum, and then also an update in relation to the Area Integrated Partnership Boards and an overview of the STRIDE initiative. So at the meeting, there were a number of actions agreed. So it was agreed that we would write to the Northern Ireland Housing Executive to inquire about the Housing Executive's plans to build houses in the Fermanagh district. We noted the draft content of the Statement of Progress and agreed the process to finalise that process. We also noted an update that had been provided in relation to job creation and collective impact analysis. We agreed the population indicators and the planned publication schedule in relation to those. Also noted some planned activities to celebrate the 10th anniversary of community planning in Fermanagh district. And also then we agreed that we would write to the Minister of Education to ask what other initiatives beyond the RAISE programme the department are undertaken within schools in the district, and also then agreed to issue an invitation to the West Belfast Partnership Board Education Programme Manager to a future meeting of the group, and then also to write to the Department of Education to seek clarification about the future plans for Lack Primary School and Trumray Primary School, and to note their potential as far as school locations. And then we also noted that the next meeting of the partnership will take place in February. Members will also note then in the report that we've just provided an update in relation to the forthcoming housing conference. So members hopefully will have that invite in their diary by this stage, but just to note that the conference will take place on the 14th of November, and it'll take place in the Struil Arts Centre in Omagh. And we have a number of speakers who already agreed to speak at the conference, and invitations are in the process of being issued out in relation to that. And just to note that in addition to there being speakers, we also intend to have an area for key stakeholders really to come together as I suppose a networking opportunity, I suppose to really ensure that there's an opportunity for discussion, I suppose at the front and maybe back end of the conference as well. At section 2.3 then of the report, members will note that there have been a number of letters of offers that have been accepted. So there's a letter of offer there in relation to the Department for Communities, which is a letter of variance in relation to the Omagh Livable Laneways. There's also been a letter of offer accepted from DFI towards surveys identified in a business case application. We also have had a letter of offer accepted from SEUPB towards the restart project, and then also a letter of variance has been accepted from DFC for an additional £27,897 towards the community support programme. We've also then in the report at 2.4 provided an update on capital spend. So a meeting of the capital programme and investment oversight group was held on the 25th September. And that group noted the minutes of the previous capital programme management board meetings, and then they received an update on the projects included within the capital expenditure programme for 25-26, together with the levels of spend, and a copy of that update report then is appended to Appendix 2 of this report. Members also received an overview of the support provided by community services to community groups, and also an overview of the prior considerations of the Economic Generation Working Group was presented as well, and the rationale for that being that I suppose the various different aspects of the Economic Generation Working Group are to be subsumed then within the Capital Oversight Group. And then on that particular point, an updated terms of reference for the group was also discussed and agreed, and they are attached at Appendix 3 of the report for approval. Further on into this report then at section 2.5, we've provided an update on the last meeting of the Economic Development and Inward Investment Steering Group that took place. So that was back on the 9th of September. And at the meeting, members were provided with an update on the business support and advice clinics that were being delivered in partnership with Invest NI, Intertrade Ireland and Southwest College. And just we provided some details there in terms of the dates of those previous business clinics that have taken place. And then there are further support clinics now planned to take place in Irvinstown, Fintona and Derry Lynn. We don't have the dates for those just members actually finalised yet, but it's expected that they will hopefully be around the beginning of November, and we'll keep members updated on that. Members also received an update on the sub-regional economic plan and the local economic partnership, including the memorandum of understanding between the Department for the Economy, Invest NI and the Council, and that MOU now has been signed and agreed, and is attached to Appendix 4 of the report for members' information. And just to note then, as part of the update in relation to the local economic partnership, the next key step in that for us is engagement, consultation with businesses in the district, and we have 2 dates now into the diary to proceed with that consultation with those businesses, and that's the 28th and 29th of October. So those invites will be going out to the business community shortly. Moving further on then into the report, we also discussed at the working group engagement that had taken place with Donegal County Council regarding their diaspora project and how that was funded by Donegal County Council. And then members were updated that officers are currently reviewing what potential funding opportunities there might be for us to support a diaspora project within the council. And just to note that Donegal County Council have advised that they would be willing to partner with us on a funding application if their support was required around that. And then members were also updated on a meeting that had taken place with Intertrade Ireland on the issue regarding entrepreneurial programmes in schools. In relation to the Home Opportunity Sites Working Group then, that working group took place on the 18th of September, and that meeting actually took place out at the Struil Shared Education Campus. And the members received an update as part of the meeting from Department of Education on the development of the campus. We discussed the timeline for the project delivery there, and also viewed the most recent drone footage of the site, which is actually available on the Shared Education Campus's website for viewing. And there was also then a discussion just around the future of the school sites that will become vacated as part of that overall project. Members also received an update in relation to the St Lucia's site, to note then that a meeting would take place with the DFI officials around that. And then there was also an update provided in relation to the visit that had taken place back at the start of the summer to St Patrick's Barracks in Ballymena, when the members had visited. So some of the key headline points are included, members, in the report. But I suppose that the key one there really was around the level of investment that was needed really to take the site to the stage of development that it is at this point in time, and the level of public funding that came forward as part of that. So in terms of the recommendation then, members, it's recommended the Council notes the update from the September 25 Community Planning Partnership Board, notes the update in relation to the housing conference, notes the acceptance of the letters of offer and letter of variance as set out in section 2.3, notes the update provided on the capital plan, and approves the revised terms of reference for the Capital Programme Investment Oversight Group, which are attached to Appendix 3, notes the update on the Economic Development and Inward Investment Steering Advisory Group, and approves the recommendations of the September meeting to engage with the OMA Learning and Fermanagh Learning communities and Young Enterprise in relation to identifying extracurricular entrepreneurial support that is made available to pupils and students in secondary schools in the district, and also then to note the update on the OMA Opportunity Sites Working Group.
Thanks very much, Sinead. Very comprehensive report there now, and six parts of recommendation. First of all, we'll go online and we'll go to Councillor Barry McElduff via WebEx.
Thank you, Chair. I hope there isn't too much feedback there. I thought I heard a wee bit of feedback. But I want to propose the adoption of the recommendations, and I want to make a few comments on the OMA Opportunity Sites Working Group. Very good update. There will be shortly, I'm sure, reference to our recent visit to Ebrington, in Derry. That was a very, very interesting visit as well, where we met SIB officials, 3 of them. They were very, very helpful in guiding us around Ebrington and telling us the story of Ebrington, which we found very useful. Also then, I'm just wondering in general terms about our economic proposition in respect of the Economic Development and Inward Investment Advisory Group, just where are we in relation to the economic proposition. And then finally, I want to make strong reference to the upcoming housing conference on Friday the 14th of November. And I would ask councillors, to make that a priority if they can, to attend that event. This follows on from a motion that was put to the council in May, I think, of this year, and I was happy to propose it, and Glenn Campbell seconded it. It's also a follow-on to another motion in January 24, which I proposed and Seamus Green seconded, and we were asking really pertinent questions about when is the housing executive intending to build houses again in our council area. They have the powers, they have the borrowing capacity, they haven't done it in decades. But this conference is going to be hugely important, and as Sinead has said, we're finalising the programme and the invitations, etc., and the press release, to draw greater public attention to it. And you'll see the list of key people who are going to attend and the themes. Ultimately, this is about where are our people going to live. Young people are very anxious. People in their 20s and 30s are very anxious about where they're going to live, the length of time that they might undertake a mortgage, the cost of private rental, the availability, the affordability, and there's other issues too, about adapting for an ageing population. There's a huge amount of issues. Slate is one organisation based locally that emphasises the difficulty of 19 to 25-year-olds even getting references and getting onto the ladder of even any type of accommodation. So I think that's going to be a hugely important event. And as chair of the council, it's one of my priorities in the 2025-26 year to help drive that. So I'll leave it at that, but I'm grateful to Sinead for a very comprehensive report, and I do propose the adoption of the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor McElduff. Sinead?
Yeah, I was just going to come back just in relation to the Ebrington visit. So yes, I would intend to bring a report from that to the next meeting of our OMA Opportunity Sites Working Group, which will then, I suppose, come forward then to the following meeting of the RNC Committee. In relation to the proposition for the district is something that we have commenced work on. It's something that we would hope to be subject to LEP and member approval. We would hope that to really be the first of the projects from our sub-regional local economic action plan for the current year. So by the end of this financial year, we would see that as being a key priority for that. And we actually met with InvestNI officers just last week to talk about that, staff who are specialised within their organisation around developing a proposition. So certainly we would see that as coming forward before the end of this financial year. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sinead. And now into the chamber, we have Councillor Seamus Green.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Sinead, for the report. I suppose I wanted to second what Barry was saying there, and I'm happy to second the report. Just in relation to housing and the housing executive failing to build properties, and that I was recently looking there at examples in the south of Ireland around vacant properties and derelict properties where there is large grants of up to €70,000 being provided. At this stage, I don't think we do need a big house building program, yes, but we already have a lot of houses that's sitting derelict and not being used, and they really are an eyesore in a lot of towns and villages around our district. They're an eyesore out in the countryside. I think if there was a scheme to get these back into making them homes again, I think it would be a great benefit to the locality, and it would ease the amount of houses that the executive would have to build in our area. The infrastructure is already there in a lot of these. You have the sewage, you have electricity to most of them, you have water to most of them. They just need an incentive to get back into being homes again. So I'm wondering, would it be possible that we would write to the relevant minister and department and to the housing executive asking, is that scheme something similar to the south being considered, and pointing out that it would save money in the long term rather than having to start off on a greenfield site to build homes, that we already have a lot of the infrastructure there in these houses. So I propose that we'd write a letter to them, the department and the housing executive.
Thank you very much, Councillor Green. You want to get anything in there, Councillor McElduff? You've still your hand up.
Yep. Yeah, just to second Seamus's proposals there variously. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And the hands down again. Okay. So it's been proposed and seconded the adoption of the report, and it's further being proposed that we write to the relevant minister with regard to these issues, and that has been proposed by Councillor Seamus Green, seconded by Councillor Barry McElduff. And we all agreed. Agreed. Thank you. Okay, on to reports for information. And again, it's Director Sinead McAvoy. Item 6.1, just to note the grant aid appeals report, paper H in your packs. Sinead.
Thank you, Chair. So members, the purpose of the report then is to update on the outcome of an appeal that was submitted by an applicant group under the Community Premises Grant Aid Scheme. So the Grant Aid Appeals Panel met on the 23rd of September to consider the appeal submitted by the applicant group. In addition to the written appeal request submitted by the appellant, then the panel was provided with the scheme scoring criteria, a breakdown of the appellant's original application scoring, and a summary of the rationale for the scores that were awarded, and a copy of the original application form. Then the senior officer that was facilitating that meeting then advised the panel on the grounds of the appeal and the outcome of the original assessment. So following consideration of all of this and all of the documentation, the panel decided to uphold the original decision made by the Grant Aid panel that was made back on the 2nd of May. And ultimately the appellant had appealed the level of funding that was awarded to their group under the Community Premises Grant Aid Scheme. However, the appeal panel were satisfied that the original assessment and scoring were applied correctly and in accordance with the scheme criteria. And members, just to note then at paragraph 2.5 that the report is being brought to R&C committee in accordance with the Council's corporate funding policy, and the report is presented to members for noting. And that is because in the policy at Appendix 1, it sets out the approach in the event of appeal, and it specifically states that if the appeal is not upheld, a report for noting will be presented to the Regeneration Community Committee, and following council approval, the appellant will then be informed of the decision, and the decision then of the council at that point is final. So the recommendation is that the council notes the grant aid appeal panel met on the 23rd of September to consider an appeal submitted under the Community Premises Grant Aid Scheme and upheld the original funding decision.
Thank you very much, Sinead. And to the chamber, and we have Councillor Seamus Green.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose it's around how this is processed and that, and I accept that this is coming back into this committee. But just for any of the public that's watching, can I clarify it for their benefit? Nobody in this committee, bar anybody that has declared an interest in being on the appeals committee, has had sight nor seen any of them documents or anything. So what we are noting tonight, we have no information on whatsoever of who the repellent was, of any of that. So just to make that clear, in case people's of the illusion that it's us that's making the final decision here tonight.
Okay, Councillor Green, your points have been made. Anyone else? No. Okay, can we have a proposer and seconder for the recommendation, please? Opposed, Councillor Alan Rainey, MBE. Your seconder. Councillor Rosemary Barton. And agreed. Okay, thank you. On to item 6.2, and it's a note report on various tourism initiatives, paper A in your pack, and it's again over to Sinead.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report then is to update members on the various tourism development initiatives, which really support the outcomes of our visitor experience development plan. So the 10th meeting of the partnership, the VD partnership that is, took place at Finlock back on the 16th of September. And then we've also appended to this report the minutes, the agreed minutes from the June meeting at Appendix 1. So at the VD partnership meeting held in September, members received a presentation from the head of marketing at Tourism NI and a presentation then also from the regional manager at Waterways Ireland. And then there were also various verbal updates received from partners as part of the meeting. So members will note, I've just set out then at paragraph 2.1.3, I suppose, broadly the elements that were discussed during the partnership meeting. So we discussed the progress of the outlined business cases in relation to the Mid-South West Growth Deal project. So that's the Quilca Lakelands Geopark and also the Ulster American Folk Park project. There was an update provided in relation to the tourism business clusters. And at that point, there was a networking event then was to take place on the 25th of September. And as I understand, that was a very successful event. We also had an update and discussion around the transition of the various functions currently undertaken by Fermanagh Lakeland Tourism to now then be delivered by the Council from the 1st of January 2026. There was also an update provided then in relation to the Fermanagh Omagh Labour Market Partnership Hospitality Academy, which was delivered by the South West College in partnership with Hospitality Ulster. And that was offering 15 participants practical hospitality training, and then also the recruitment of 10 new businesses within the Quilca Lakelands Geopark to undertake the accredited sustainability training programme for 25-26. And just to note that that's a 14-week programme that really helps businesses assess their current practices in relation to those sustainability considerations. And then members also at the partnership received an overview really of recent events and events that were planned over the coming period. And then the actual report that was delivered as part of that meeting at the 16th of September is also then attached at Appendix 2 to this report. So members then, in terms of recommendation, it's recommended that the Council notes the update regarding the VDP delivery partnership.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sinead, for taking us through that. Okay, if there's no questions or queries for Sinead, can we have a proposer and seconder for the adoption? Councillor Victor Warrington in the chamber. And I see Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly wishing to come on via WebEx. Councillor Donnelly.
Yes, Chair, happy to second noting the recommendations. Thank you.
Happy to second. Okay, thank you very much. And all agreed? Yeah, thank you very much. And now we're down to item 7, and it's correspondence. And I believe there's one piece of correspondence. Sinead.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a piece of correspondence from Fermanagh Rural Community Network in relation to awards 2025, and then also their annual general meeting to take place on Monday, the 20th of October at 7:30 p.m. And the correspondence sets out the guest speakers, and just to note then that everyone is welcome to that.
Okay, just for nutty members, I believe. So proposed to note Councillor Victor Warrington, seconded by Councillor Tommy Maguire, both in the chamber. All agreed? Thank you. Thanks for that. Down to item 8, and any urgent and relevant business. No one has notified me other than our director, Sinead McAvoy. So I'll bring Sinead in at this point.
Thank you, Chair. So this is really to update members on a piece of correspondence that was actually just received this evening from the Planning Appeals Commission in relation to the conjoined public local inquiries in relation to the Dalradian, the various applications before the Planning Appeals Commission. So the purpose of the correspondence really is to set out, I suppose, where the Planning Appeals Commission, as they see it, are in the process. So there's two aspects to the correspondence. One is to explain that anyone who has made a representation at the transboundary stage is invited then to participate in the public inquiry. And if you had made a transboundary representation, then if you wish to rely on your original letter of representation, no further action would be required. But if you didn't want to and you wanted to then make a further submission, the letter sets out the steps to do that. So there's two key dates then within the correspondence. The first is that the Commission has advised that they will reconvene the public inquiries at 10:30 a.m. on Monday, the 13th of April, 2026. So that's the public inquiries will reconvene at that date, and they will be held in person at the Struhl Arts Centre, Omagh. And the PAC have noted that further details, including a draft timetable, will be communicated to parties via the Commission's website by 4 p.m. on the 9th of March 2026. And then the other key date within the correspondence from the PAC is that date that if we wish to make a further submission in relation to the transboundary, then statements of evidence are required to be submitted by 4 p.m. on Thursday, the 4th of December 2025. So it's for update and for noting members.
Okay, thank you very much again, Sinead. Yeah, and we have a proposer and seconder for noting. Councillor Glenn Campbell in the chamber. And we have a seconder, please. Councillor Alan Rennie, MBE, and we're all agreed in the chamber and online. Thank you very much, Sinead. Okay, we're now down now to part 2 business. Can we have a proposer and seconder that we go into committee? Councillor Rosemary Barton, seconded by Councillor Tommy Maguire, and agreed. Okay. Thank you very much, Daniel. And now we're out of committee, and I hand over now to Director John Boyle for a resume of what took place whilst in committee.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, while in confidential business, members considered and approved a report to work in partnership approach to include young people's voices more actively in child poverty issues. Members also approved an update report on the progress of the redevelopment of the Fermanagh Lakeland Forum, and also considered and approved a course of action in relation to 2 legal issues on land-related issues, and approved the course of action in each. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Director Boyle, can we propose and seconder? Councillor Victor Warrington, seconded by Councillor Alan Rooney MBE. That's what took place whilst in committee. Agreed? Okay, thank you very much. So that brings us to the end of our meeting at 8:37 p.m. So that's a very good record, folks. So let's keep it going again. Thank you all for your very much your cooperation, and to all our staff, directors. Thank you.